They told you Benjamin Franklin was a hero. They lied. Hidden beneath the founding myths, he built the first machine of invisible control, an empire not of chains and prisons, but of symbols, beliefs, and dreams. Every dollar you touch, every anthem you sing, every flag you salute, feeds it. July 4th is not your Freedom Day. It's the ritual that renews your obedience. The sons of Alethea tried to warn you. Their secrets were buried, their voices erased. Now, as the final deception descends, you have one last chance to see the prison and step beyond it. Benjamin Franklin, the founding father they taught you to revere, the wise inventor with a key and a kite. But none of that was the truth. Buried deep beneath the London archives, hidden letters reveal a chilling reality. Benjamin Franklin led one of the first secret programs of mind control, not through violence, not through tyranny, but by engineering voluntary submission at the level of thought itself. He called it the Invisible Empire, and it still rules America today. They lied to you. Franklin wasn't a symbol of freedom. He was an architect of obedience. In 1776, just days before the Declaration of Independence was signed, Franklin held a secret gathering inside the Dove Tower. 33 men attended. They signed a forbidden document, the Covenant of the Inverted Light. Its tenets were simple, brutal, and absolute. Rule their faith, not their fear. Make them love their chains, and they will defend them with their lives. Franklin's obsession with influence had begun decades earlier. In 1724, in London, he was initiated into the Hellfire Club, a hidden brotherhood that practiced ancient techniques of mass manipulation. There, he mastered the forbidden arts, embedding commands within symbols, hiding suggestions within architecture, crafting texts that shaped belief systems without resistance. His mentor was a figure known only as the Phoenix. Some say he was immortal, some say he was never human. Franklin learned how to create thought forms, invisible structures that embedded themselves into the collective mind and fed off belief. He discovered 3 sacred principles of control. First, emotional anchoring. No idea survives without emotion. Franklin embedded every American ideal, freedom, destiny, success, within fear, longing, and divine purpose. Second, subliminal repetition. Overt propaganda fails, but patterns repeated invisibly under many masks are absorbed without resistance. Third, symbolic sanctification. Franklin coded freedom into flags, anthems, seals, and currency, turning objects into untouchable icons. Thus the first Matrix was born, a prison so complete its captives never even saw the walls. But the darkest truth was hidden even deeper. In 1998, workers restoring Franklin's London home broke through a basement wall. Behind it, they found dozens of human bones. The official story was medical research, but leaked reports from the Royal Society told another story. Ritual procedures to anchor thought forms require energetic sacrifice. The bones were no coincidence. Franklin didn't just theorize control, he fed it with blood. And today, that system has evolved, perfected, invisible. You believe you are free, you believe you choose, but every flag you salute, every anthem you sing, every dollar you spend, all carry the imprint of Franklin's invisible empire. and it still guides your mind. What is hidden within the symbols around you? Why do those who scream the loudest for freedom seem to be the first to cage it? In the next revelation, we will expose how Franklin's invisible empire was passed to the Golden Circles, a clandestine network that still programs the American mind today. The Golden Circles, a name erased from history, surviving only in fragmented whispers and burned letters. A clandestine order born from Franklin's original covenant, tasked with one mission: to keep the invisible empire alive across centuries. They operated in triads, 3 circles: knowledge, wealth, and power. Each member belonged to one, each sworn to absolute secrecy. The knowledge circle controlled education and information flow. They shaped the way children learned, the history adults remembered, and the narratives the media broadcasted. The wealth circle controlled banks, industries, and economic systems. They ensured that opportunity was a carrot dangled, never grasped. The power circle seeded operatives into politics, military, and religious institutions, puppeteering from the shadows. Documents recovered from the lost archives of Thomas Paine revealed chilling details. Paine himself attempted to expose the circles. In 1809, he was found incoherent, raving about invisible masters and codes in the sky. The official report claimed natural causes. The few surviving pages of his forbidden manuscript suggest otherwise. The Golden Circles encoded their dominion into the very DNA of America, not through dictatorship, but through ritual. Each national event, inaugurations, oaths, national holidays, was structured as a subtle mass initiation. Participants unknowingly reaffirmed their loyalty to the invisible empire. Every star on the flag, every note of the anthem, every eye atop every unfinished pyramid, symbols within symbols, messages within dreams. They didn't need to control the people with force. They needed only to control what people believed they were fighting for, and they succeeded. The modern era brought new tools: radio, television, the internet. Each innovation praised as a leap toward freedom, each actually a tighter chain on the mind. The Golden Circles adapted. They moved into think tanks, universities, entertainment conglomerates. New faces, same mission: rule the mind, rule the world. You feel it, don't you? That unseen weight, that invisible script. Every choice offered to you was crafted decades, sometimes centuries ago. Left or right, red or blue, freedom or security. They wrote the options. They designed the game. And every time you play, you lose a piece of yourself to them. But their arrogance birthed their greatest weakness. They believed no one would ever see the script. They were wrong. The next revelation will break open the hidden codex embedded into the American currency. The final lock, holding the invisible empire intact. The codex of the dollar. The final, unbreakable seal of the invisible empire, hiding in plain sight. They call it currency. They call it commerce. But to the architects, the dollar was never just money. It was a living sigil, a charged symbol designed to bind consciousness itself. Look closer. On every U.S. dollar bill lies the Great Seal, an unfinished pyramid crowned by an all-seeing eye. Historians say it's a symbol of providence. They lie. The pyramid represents the hierarchy of control, layers upon layers of unseen hands guiding every move. The eye is not divine. It is surveillance. perpetual observation, a reminder. You are never outside their gaze. Beneath the pyramid, Novus Ordo Seclorum, New Order of the Ages, a declaration, not a hope. The invisible empire had announced itself, hidden in Latin, hidden in ritual. The codex embedded in the dollar operates on 3 frequencies. First, perpetual scarcity programming, the design of the dollar, with its endless one repeating, implants the belief in scarcity, that resources must be fought for, hoarded, worshipped. Second, symbolic servitude. Every transaction, every exchange becomes a ritual offering. You don't just spend money, you affirm the system. Third, energy capture. Every act of labor, every hour traded for dollars, fuels the invisible empire's construct. The dollar is not the prize. Your energy is. And then there are the hidden codes. Under ultraviolet light, the dollar reveals spectral images, maps, keys, coordinates. Researchers, silenced by mysterious accidents, uncovered that these patterns correspond to major Masonic sites, ancient ley lines, and ritual points across the American landscape. The dollar is a living map, a circuit of binding, and every time you touch it, you reinforce the grid. Franklin's invisible empire ensured that no act, not work, not consumption, not even rest, could be separated from their influence. The prison was complete, not with walls, not with chains, but with belief. And you. You were born inside it. But cracks are forming. New forces are rising. The architect's descendants are afraid, because for the first time in centuries, the spell is weakening. In the next revelation, we will expose the secret American ritual that happens every July 4th, the true ceremony behind Independence Day, and why it's designed not to celebrate freedom, but to renew your chains. July 4th, Independence Day, the day you were taught to celebrate freedom. But beneath the fireworks and parades lies a hidden ritual, a mass psychological ceremony designed to renew the invisible empire's hold on the collective mind. It was never about freedom. It was about reaffirmation. The founders chose July 4th, not because of a final victory. The Revolutionary War would drag on for years after 1776. They chose it for celestial reasons. On that date, the Earth aligns with the star Sirius, known to ancient civilizations as the Watcher Star, the Eye of the Gods. In Egyptian ritual, Sirius's rising marked the flooding of the Nile, a symbol of rebirth and submission to divine authority. Franklin, who studied Egyptian mysteries during his time in London, understood this. He engineered July 4th as a mass synchronization with ancient forces, binding the new nation to the old empires of control. Every element of Independence Day is carefully constructed. Fireworks, simulated chaos and light, overwhelming the senses, creating an emotional high that leaves the subconscious mind open to programming. Parades, ritual processions mimicking ancient military marches, reinforcing loyalty to unseen masters rather than true sovereign ideals. Pledges and anthems, repetitive verbal contracts, renewing allegiance without conscious consent. Even the colors, red, white, and blue, were not randomly chosen. They correspond to alchemical principles. Red, sacrifice; white, purification; blue, submission to divine will. On July 4th, millions participate willingly in a mass ritual of binding. They celebrate their supposed freedom by voluntarily renewing their enslavement. They laugh, they cheer, they wave flags, and with every act, they tighten the invisible empire's grip. The architects knew that true control is not forced. It must be celebrated by the captive. It must feel like love. Even today, when you watch the fireworks bloom and burst across the sky, something deep inside your mind triggers a feeling of awe, a feeling of belonging, a feeling of surrender, not to yourself, not to true liberty, but to a machine so old, so perfect, that it no longer needs to reveal its face. It moves through symbols, through songs, through dreams. The greatest victory of the invisible empire is this. It made you celebrate your own captivity and call it freedom. But every ritual leaves traces, and every spell can be broken. In the next revelation, we will dive into the forbidden writings of Thomas Jefferson and why he tried to dismantle Franklin's system before it was too late. Thomas Jefferson, the man painted as the champion of liberty, the architect of independence. But hidden within his private journals, sealed for centuries under the Monticello Codex, lies the truth. Jefferson saw the invisible empire taking shape, and he tried to destroy it from within. He called it the creeping dominion of the unseen crown. In 1792, Jefferson secretly commissioned a manuscript titled The Machinery of Mind. Only fragments survive, smuggled through forbidden auctions and hidden vaults. But those fragments reveal a terrifying reality. Jefferson identified 3 core mechanisms the invisible empire used to enslave thought. Manufactured consent, giving people limited false choices to create the illusion of freedom. Inverted language, changing the meaning of words so that submission sounds like empowerment. Sacred commodities, binding identity and virtue to consumer goods and currency. He wrote, "When the language of liberty serves the ends of power, when the chains are woven from the fibers of hope itself, the people shall no longer recognize their own enslavement." Jefferson proposed a radical solution. Dissolve centralized banks, break the monopoly of printed currency, rebuild education based on critical thought, not rote obedience. He knew the dollar was a talisman. He knew the ceremonies were binding spells. He knew July 4th was not a celebration, but a reconsecration of the invisible empire. In a private letter to Madison, he warned, "They have crowned the eye atop the pyramid. They have crowned surveillance itself. If we fail to tear down this altar, our descendants shall be born in invisible chains, thinking themselves kings." Jefferson attempted to form a secret counter-society, the Sons of Aletheia. Aletheia, meaning truth unveiled. Their mission was to reveal the symbols, break the spells, and shatter the manufactured reality. But it was too late. By 1803, with the Louisiana Purchase, Jefferson was forced into the very machinery he had sworn to destroy. His letters grew darker, his writings more fragmented. Historians say he retired in peace. The fragments of his personal papers say otherwise. He died, isolated, believing the invisible empire had won, and perhaps it had. But the Sons of Aletheia did not vanish. They went underground, carrying with them the keys Jefferson forged in the final years of his life. Keys that, even now, are starting to resurface. In the next revelation, we will unlock Jefferson's forbidden key, a cipher hidden within Monticello itself, and how it leads to the next step. the map to dismantle the invisible empire once and for all. The forbidden key, Jefferson's last weapon against the invisible empire. Monticello was never just a home, it was a coded machine. A structure embedded with symbols, angles, and alignments that pointed to one thing, the path to dismantling the system of unseen control. Beneath Monticello's main dome, hidden in the geometric tiling of the floor, Jefferson embedded a cipher. It wasn't discovered until 1947, when an archivist cleaning the rotunda noticed an impossible pattern. 13 sections arranged not just as a homage to the colonies, but as a map, a directional sequence tied to ancient Hermetic principles. Each angle, each window, each hidden alcove inside Monticello corresponded to a letter or number. When decoded, the sequence revealed a phrase in Latin, "Veritas liberabit vos, sed sanguine." The truth shall set you free, but only through blood. Not a prophecy of violence, a prophecy of sacrifice, a warning that awakening would require the death of illusions, the death of false comfort, the death of the egoic chains forged by the invisible empire. Jefferson's cipher led to 4 primary directives for breaking the system. Decode the symbols. Recognize that every national emblem, seal, flag, and public ceremony carries a hidden command. Break the automatic responses tied to these symbols. Deprogram language. See through inverted meanings, where security means surveillance, where freedom means managed choice. Reclaim sovereign energy. Understand that money, politics, media, all exist to harvest your focus and life force. Withhold consent. Redirect your energy to creation, not consumption. Dismantle manufactured consent. Refuse to play the game of false dualities. Left versus right. Nation versus nation. Ideology versus ideology. Recognize the puppeteers behind the curtain. Jefferson left more than instructions. He left a physical key. Historians long believed Monticello's West Cellar was used for simple storage, but newly uncovered blueprints show it concealed a chamber. The Black Room, accessible only through a hidden mechanism triggered by a sequence of precise floor presses. Inside, maps, books of forbidden philosophy, treatises on mind control dating back to ancient Alexandria, and a metal box containing what would become known as the Jefferson device, a machine designed to encode and decode hidden messages centuries ahead of its time. The device was seized in 1941 by covert agents operating under the OSS, the forerunner of the CIA. Its existence classified beyond top secret. The invisible empire, threatened by the reawakening, buried the evidence. But fragments survived, smuggled through underground networks, carried by the descendants of the sons of Aletheia. And now, after centuries of silence, the whispers are growing louder. The question is no longer if the invisible empire exists. The question is, will you see it before it seals itself forever? In the next revelation, we will uncover the lost rituals of the sons of Aletheia, the techniques they preserved for resisting mind domination, and how they may be the last weapon left against the collapsing dream world around you. The sons of Aletheia. A brotherhood born from desperation, from the final dying embers of true resistance. They knew that brute force would fail. They knew that public rebellion would be crushed before it ever began. So they turned inward. They preserved the only tools that could survive across generations. hidden knowledge, rituals of awakening, techniques for reclaiming sovereignty of thought. Their existence was never officially recorded. Their gatherings left no public trace. But through encoded diaries, concealed within banned books, encrypted letters passed through secret societies, their methods survived. The sons of Aletheia taught 3 core disciplines. 1. Nullification of symbols. They trained initiates to dismantle the emotional charge tied to national emblems, corporate logos, ideological icons. Through meditation, reprogramming, and ritual exposure, they severed the subconscious reflexes that triggered loyalty, fear, or awe. Without emotional power, the symbols became hollow. Without the symbols, the empire's magic weakened. 2. Conscious language reconstruction. They systematically rewired their use of language. Instead of saying, "I must," they said, "I choose." Instead of "they allow," they said, "I create." Every word was rebuilt to reclaim internal authority. They knew language is the blueprint of reality. Corrupt the language, and you corrupt the soul. 3. Energetic sovereignty practices. The sons practiced ancient disciplines to seal their life force from extraction. Breathing techniques that anchored the mind against propaganda. Visualization rituals that shielded their energetic fields from emotional manipulation. Fasting from news, from commerce, from manipulated narratives, to starve the parasites of attention. Their motto was brutal in its clarity. Starve the beast. Feed the soul. Build the new in silence. They operated in isolated triads, small cells of 3 to 5 members. To prevent infiltration, no names, only symbols and codes. Every year, during the secret winter solstice gatherings, they would renew their vows. To see the invisible mechanisms of control, to refuse participation in manufactured consent, to ignite the dormant sovereignty buried within every soul. It was not about overthrowing the empire with swords. It was about dismantling it from the inside, mind by mind, thought by thought. Over time, the sons of Aletheia faded from memory. Their knowledge scattered across obscure writings, strange parables, forbidden rituals. But they left a prophecy in the final cipher encoded into the Jefferson device. A single line remains. When the eye falters and the chains shimmer, the silent ones shall awaken. We are entering that time now. You feel it. The cracks in the facade, the desperate tightening of control, the collapsing dream world trembling under its own illusion. The invisible empire fears only one thing: that enough minds will awaken before the final lock is sealed. And if they do, the empire will fall, not with a bang, but with a silent refusal. In the next revelation, we will expose the final failsafe of the invisible empire, the last deception they have prepared, and how they plan to rewrite reality itself to maintain control. The final failsafe. The invisible empire's endgame. They always knew the architecture of control would erode over time. Symbols weaken. Language evolves. Belief systems crumble. So they prepared a final deception. The synthetic awakening. A false revolution. A manufactured great awakening designed to capture the rising energy of dissent, neutralize it, and reforge it into a new, even tighter prison. You were never meant to awaken naturally. You were meant to awaken inside a cage, built precisely for your new mind. The synthetic awakening operates through three converging mechanisms. 1. Controlled opposition movements. The Empire seeds and funds groups that appear to resist the system. Truth-tellers, rebels, reformers. But they only ever lead you in circles, burning your energy, exhausting your spirit. Their goal is not to liberate you, it's to drain you and return you, broken and compliant, to the machine. 2. Simulated revelations, leaks, disclosures, forbidden documents, most of them allowed or fabricated, designed to give you the illusion that you are discovering secrets, while still steering you safely within the bounds of the pre-designed narrative. You are allowed to awaken, but only within their chosen parameters. 3. Reality overwrite. Through digital technologies, deepfakes, synthetic media, AI narrative control, the invisible empire prepares to sever humanity's link to organic memory. History itself will be rewritten, pixel by pixel, until no original truth remains. A virtual dream world where freedom, rebellion, even awakening are just features of a software loop. A prison where you fight, protest, awaken endlessly, but never escape. They do not fear chaos. They do not fear revolution. They designed those responses. What they fear is the one thing they cannot predict or control: silent withdrawal, the refusal to engage, the refusal to fight within their arenas, the refusal to lend attention, emotion, belief. The sons of Aletheia knew this. Their final teachings, lost to the public but preserved in secret, speak of the great silence, a moment when enough minds, seeing through every layer, simply walk away. Not with rage, not with violence, with quiet sovereignty. The invisible empire, faced with true non-participation, would collapse like a house of cards, because it was never built on real power, only belief, only your belief. And belief can be withdrawn. Right now, you stand at the precipice. The chains shimmer, the eye falters, the final deception descends. The only question left is, will you awaken within the synthetic dream? Or will you remember who you were before the empire whispered its first lie? The choice is now. The choice has always been yours, and it always will be.